Our opening words this morning are a poem by Hermann Hesse. Sometimes when a bird calls, or a wind moves through the brush, or a dog barks in a distant farmyard, I must listen a long time and hush. My soul flies back to where, before 1,000 forgotten years begin, the bird and the waving wind were like me and were my kin. My soul becomes a tree, an animal, a cloud woven across the sky. Changed and unfamiliar, it turns back and questions me. How shall I reply?
Welcome to this place of comfort and challenge, of the familiar and surprising. I'm Dave Lloyd, a member of the Green Sanctuary Committee, and Green Sanctuary is leading the service today. Our readers are Karen McDowell, Lisa Heckler, and Suzanne Williams. And we have a bunch of photos today that were taken by Jim Wilson, a member of our church, and Marion Hanno Wilson, who is also a skilled photographer. Our music is led by Jamie Passman, and by our choir, the Celebration Singer is led by Julia Beckman. Tech services are provided by Alex Dvorak. Please join us for coffee and snacks downstairs after the service. If you're new here or visiting, grab a green mug so we know to greet you. There's always a lot going on around the church, and you can read all about it in News and Notes, which arrives in your inbox every Friday. If you'd like to receive news and notes, you can go to the church's website and click on the Connect button at the top of the homepage, or stop by the visitors table in the living room at the back of the church, and we can get your email address. Right after church, go out to the church lawn, pitch in, and help affix the bricks that will form our labyrinth. We light our chalice. Oh, look at that. We light our chalice, the symbol of our church and our denomination, with these words: at times our own light goes out and is Please rise in body or spirit and sing our hymn, Web of Life, number 175 in your gray hymnal. Right now is time for all ages, and I'll descend here carrying my handheld mic, and I'd ask for a couple of volunteers. Frankie and Jeff, could you come up and join me? It's a time for all ages. Okay, ordinarily we have a story. And, okay, Penny can cheer us on. All right. Ordinarily we have but it's time for all ages, and we're going to have today a challenge for all ages. This will be a challenge of strength and speed. So, and who are you?
Frankie.
Okay, Frankie the Fast, and Jeff the Jet. So we're going to have a challenge. It is to take these heavy and obscure books. I have the complete works of William Shakespeare, Plants of the Here's a tip for anyone who's using the wireless mic. The receiver is in the closet, so if you stand right in front of it, your body blocks the electricity. So if you're ever speaking up here, turn like this. Okay, so we got the collected works of William Shakespeare. We have Plants of the Chicago region and a biography of Chester Alan Arthur to balance the load. So the challenge is, my assistant Jeff the Jet, would you run back to the back of the church? Okay. Fast Frankie, challenge is carry this bag of books. And then Jeff will carry them all the way. You go, and I'll time you. Go. All right. Thank you. 30 seconds, ladies and gentlemen. Let's have a hand. But I think we can do it faster. Frank, come on up here. If people work together, I bet things would go better. So, Frankie, you got your left hand on here, right? F. Yep. Take one hand each. Okay, I'll time you. Ready, set, go. All right. What do we do the other ones in? 14.72 seconds. Now it works. Now let us sing a song to accompany our kids to their classes. My wife Suzanne is very modest, so she won't tell you this, but she is an award-winning athlete. I'll talk about that in a little bit, but first I want to tell a story also about how cooperating and working together make good results. A number of years, 20-some years ago, we were at a volunteer picnic in the forest preserves, and we had events that were called the Buckthorn Olympics. One of them was the target toss. You take a little hunk of wood and toss it as close as you can get to the flag. And the other was toss for distance. Big log, and toss it as far as you can, and the winner is the one who goes farthest. There was a men's division and a women's division. We didn't check. And then there was saw for speed. There was a standard-sized log, and you got a saw, and tried to saw through as fast as you can. There was a men's division and a women's division. And the winner of the women's division, and still champion, is our own Suzanne D. Williams. She hates me right now. And another event was the brush pile carry. Had a big pile of sticks and branches and logs and things, and there were teams, and the task was to carry the brush pile from this side of that line to that side of this other line. There were 3 teams, and the first team, they all grabbed things, armfuls, and ran over, and they achieved a pretty good time. The second team figured out a relay, so they would toss them over and put them over on that side. And the third team is watching both teams, and when it was their turn, they grabbed big sticks, pried up the pile, and carried it all over together. And they dropped a bunch of pieces that they were able to sweep up. And they had the record-breaking time. Another sign of, if you work together, how much better and how much more can you achieve.
Hold on here. Okay. Please join me in a responsive affirmation, which is based on a poem called Earth Prayer by Stephanie Kazaa. Your response is up there on the screen, and you'll chime in with that after each section that I read. We live by the sun, we feel by the moon, we move by the stars. We live in all things live in us. We eat from the earth, we drink from the rain, we breathe of the air. We live in all things live in us. We call to each other, we listen to each other. Our hearts deepen with love and compassion. We live in all things live in us. We depend on the trees and animals, we depend on the earth. Our minds open with wisdom and insight. We live in all things live in us. We dedicate our practice to others. We include all forms of life. We celebrate the joy of living and dying. We live in all things live in us. We are full of life. We are full of death. We are grateful for all beings and companions. We live in all things live in us.
We enter this space bringing with us joys, concerns, challenges, and blessings. If you have something either weighing or dancing on your heart this morning, you're invited to come up and drop a stone. If you wish, you can say a name, a word, or a short phrase to share your intention.
Mine's a point of gratitude. I wanted to tell Dennis thank you for providing the flowers today in honor of his 57th wedding anniversary.
I'm Kathy. My family and I are going to my granddaughter's graduation from medical school on May 1st. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Stephen Nunez, and my heart is very heavy and saddened. My niece, Amy Thompson, 40 years old, passed away last Wednesday. She had a heart embolism, and she leaves behind her husband, Tom Thompson, and her young son, 5 years old, Nicholas Thompson. My sister is grieving, and I pray for her in peace today and every day. Thank you.
I'm dropping a stone in joy for my middle kid, Zoe, who's a freshman. She's in the youth group here. Today will be her closing show at the Theater of Western Springs, where she's playing the Scarecrow in Wizard of Oz. It has been just an absolute joy watching her just shine on that stage. She's a fantastic Scarecrow. So when you see her next time, tell her you know all about it. She'll be really embarrassed, but it'll be great.
Good morning. My name is Gail Stone, and I want to, as I look out, I see so many people that I would love to direct this to, but I'm going to direct it to Tracy Olson. She had a luncheon for the Wise Elders on Friday. That was a very, very nice event, and it was wonderful to see all the people that you Zoom with, and they don't get to be able to come to church, to be able to join us. So thank you. Thank you to everybody.
Good morning, I'm Paula. I dropped a stone in celebration, but a little bit of grief. The flowers today were donated in honor of my parents, what would have been their 57th anniversary.
Hello, I'm just here to say hello, and that I'm a practicing Muslim. I'm a practicing Buddhism. I believe in Jesus. I try to go to Muslim service every morning at 4:30 in the morning. I ride my bike to Mecca, and it's like 5 minutes away from where I live, and I say the prayers, and the reason why is because I heard a beautiful thing. It's somebody said, you can't say you love God and not love everybody in the world.
And one more stone for all the joys or cares that are too private to share, and a very big stone for peace in the world.
I'm a little bit nervous to be part of this service. I don't consider myself a poet, but every once in a while I think the poet muse loses its way, gets lost, and ends up in my brain. And one day, looking out my window, made me write this. The title is Window Wonders. Picture this with me, if you will. I glance out my window. Zip, there scurries a squirrel. Hops a cottontail, flits a fragile butterfly, squawks a goose soaring from the pond with a cluster of cloud in the near clear sky. A kid blazes by on her bike, exuberant with the breeze they create. Sunlight shimmers on swaying leaves. Neighbors wave across the spanses of their neat green lawns, while a swarm of sparrows frolic at finding food in mine. As I marvel at the diversity and tenacity of life, a spider works its web on my window.
Thank you. Thank you. Now please rise in body or spirit and sing our hymn. Earth was given as a garden, which is number 207 in your gray hymnal and also projected. Let's say these words together. This church is made up of all of us. It is what we learn together, the work we do together, the fun we have together. It is what we share with one another, with people around us, and with all the world. Thank you in advance for your generosity. Time. It's a difficult time. to be an environmentalist? First, look around. With all the troubles facing the world, threats to the environment seem remote. Yes, climate change has reached emergency status. Every season has gotten worse thanks to global climate change. Wildfires, hurricanes, heat waves, floods. And yet, compared with the rest of our lives, these seem to be irritations or remote threats. We have an incompetent monster in Washington who, one week, sends goons into our streets to terrorize and kill people. Next week, raises the price of everything we buy by sabotaging the economy. Attacks free speech at colleges and universities, which isn't their biggest problem because he is also preventing foreign students from attending and bringing their money. Guts health care, stops vaccines so that people are dying of measles, sues the government, and then, as the one in charge of the government, negotiates with himself to maximize his own recovery. Oh, and then starts a war. Sometimes trying to be an environmentalist feels like we're running a recycling program on the Titanic. And then there's the sense that no matter what you and I and everyone like us can do, it's just meaningless if the government and big business don't do their part. And of course, based on the greed and disdain showed by the monsters who are currently running both the government and big business, they're not anywhere near doing their part. So our little efforts feel wasted. And then, just as we have some reason for hope, as renewable energy is growing exponentially and we may be turning around the demand for electricity and reducing the use of fossil fuel, along comes AI, with the construction of gigantic data centers that use megawatts of electricity and mega gallons of water. And if it doesn't make sense to act alone, how do we find a way to act together? The winds of society are against it. For all my life, our society has been becoming increasingly atomized. First, there was the decline in family size and the decline in the idea of extended families living together. Then, starting around the 1980s, and I blame Ronald Reagan and his followers, came the idea of you're on your own. Look out for yourself. Don't share. Don't cooperate. Take what you can get because you're a fool not to. The idea of we're all in this together was disdained, laughed at. One of the very first Sundays I was in this church, our then minister Ed Searle talked about a book, Bowling Alone, which made the point that Americans used to be such joiners, such community types. I've read that the late 1800s were the golden era of American fraternalism. The Elks, the Moose, the Masons, the Oddfellows, and any number of other fraternal organizations. In cities and on the frontier back in those days, people who were strangers got together with other people to share, to make contacts, and improve each other's lives. And that continued for almost 100 years. When I was little, all the grown-ups were in bowling leagues, they had poker nights, block parties, but by the new millennium, people were literally bowling alone. And then all our mass communication, all our social media, although they put us all in contact with all of us, actually drove us away from person-to-person contact. Whole generations have grown up with a shortage of cues about how to be in someone's company. And then came the pandemic, physically separating us and masking us, and a whole cohort of society missed the experience of sitting in a classroom, whispering and passing notes. And how many of our meetings are now on Zoom? How many of us would love to get together with other people like us and make things happen? But how?
But there are still reasons to do everything you can, even on your own. First of all, every bit helps. I'm going to take Yesterday, I went to a jewelry shop on Ogden Avenue hoping that they could make a pendant for me. I have this idea of a pendant. You know, people wear a cross. I've got my little chalice pin here, but, you know, if you're not one of us, you don't know what that means. I want somebody to make me a little silver bucket with a rhinestone drop headed into the bucket. That's my philosophy of life, and I hope it's part of yours too. And that's the message that I'm giving you today. There's a current saying, you can't save the world, but you can change the world. Every degree on your thermostat, every gallon, every can or bottle, every milkweed plant, every recycled battery or printer cartridge or styrofoam. Thank you, everybody, for bringing those things here to the church to recycle. If all Americans, or even most Americans, would do one thing, and then maybe add to it over time, we can achieve great things. I truly believe that. Let's say you put one piece of paper on this podium. Nobody's going to notice it, right? But if 300 million people put one piece of paper on this podium, well, first the podium would collapse probably, but those 300 million pieces of paper would stretch 20,000 miles into space. Yesterday, I took a carload of my mail to be recycled out in Naperville. The library used to do it, but it became contaminated and they quit, so I've been keeping this stuff probably for a year. One-person household, 8 bags, the whole back end of my SUV, full of paper, which I refused to put on the curbside because I don't trust that that works. I've even called them and I still don't trust that it works. And then you have to ask yourself, whose side do you want to be on? Right now there is a race. You can feel it. Dave has mentioned it. Every day there is good news. The number of new solar and wind energy projects exceeds the number of new fossil fuel plants. Another country is announcing a goal of net zero emissions. Water is cleaner, air is cleaner, despite what I just heard about Naperville's air. Endangered species are being brought back from the brink. At the same time, every day there is bad news. There's a race between progress and destruction. It's literally a war between good and evil. And someday soon, the war will be over. Population scientists say that if current trends continue, not if we make dramatic changes now, but if current trends continue, by about 2050, you doing the math? The population of the Earth will actually start to decline. Already today, industrialized countries have negative growth rates, and their populations are increasing only because of immigration. So, when we hit that point, there will be less demand for resources, less energy use, more space for every person and every living creature. If we can make it to that point, we will win. If we don't, we will lose. And at the end of that struggle, what will you tell yourself? What will you tell your children and grandchildren? I love the Native American concept of the 7th generation. What we do today, we do for 7 generations from now. Do that math. If a generation is maybe 20 years, are you thinking that far in the future with what you do today? What will you do to support the fight for good over evil? And when we reach the point when it stops getting worse and starts getting better, everything you do today, now, will make the base from which we will recover a little less bleak. Our breakthrough, our arrival at the cool, sunlit uplands will be a little sooner, a little easier, a little brighter. I have to believe it. By doing what each of us can do today, we will also be examples to those around us. People do look around, and they notice things. How many of you have the means to fly a flag on your house? How many of you have a flag of Earth to fly on that flagpole? They're available online, and they're not expensive. And my neighbors notice when I fly it. This is my flag. People are influenced by what's going on around them. There is a theory called the broken window theory. The idea is that if a building has a broken window and it is not repaired right away, soon there will be more broken windows. And when a broken window doesn't get fixed, people conclude that no one cares and no one is in charge. With more broken windows, there's more graffiti, more littering, more vandalism, more petty crime, and the neighborhood declines. In the 1990s, the New York subway system was a mess. Never been there, but that's what I hear. Crime was rampant. The train cars were dirty, broken down, often late, and people routinely hopped the turnstiles or broke the entrances in order to ride free, meaning that the system had even less money to fix things. And mugging and robbery and worse crimes became more common. To fix the problem, the new management of the subway system didn't start with the serious crimes. They started by first removing graffiti. Starting with one line at a time, they didn't let any subway car leave the yard with graffiti on it. Once the car was tagged, it went back to be cleaned up. They also cleaned up the insides of the cars. And the crime they went after was fare cheating. For a long time, police didn't consider it worthy to bust fare jumpers with all that paperwork for every minor penalty. But the subway system set up mobile stations, mini police stations inside the cars, to speed up processing and to allow the cops to find out if the fare cheaters were also wanted for serious crimes. If they arrested turnstile jumpers in large numbers and kept them in the station, they handcuffed, they arrested turnstile jumpers in large numbers and kept them in the station, often handcuffed, this is not ICE, until they could be hauled away so that all subway riders could see the work going on. Crime on the subways dropped dramatically. People look around and they notice things. When you make a point of recycling, a carload of paper, when you bring your own bags to the grocery store. Oh, come on. I have a whole bunch of these. I only brought one today. No, I'm not giving it away. When you tell the fast food cashier, no straw, no plastic utensils. Some people even keep those things in their car if they do a lot of fast food eating. When you plant native plants in your yard, people notice. It may inspire them to do one action of their own. It may make them feel that they are not alone and encourage them to keep on trying. It may just make them think. Every journey begins with the first step, and it progresses on dealing with the climate emergency, and the progress on dealing with climate emergency is made up of many single steps. So today, we encourage you to ask yourself, how's my attitude? What am I currently doing? What can I add or enlarge on? Am I living my values? All these years, I've used a plastic bag inside my kitchen trash because it's easy to take it out to the garage bin. I suddenly realized I hate all those plastic bags, and I'm only one person. But I don't need to put a plastic bag. It's a plastic garbage can. Yeah, I may have to wash it once in a while, but I'm willing to do that. Thank you.
So what we've been talking about this morning is that when each of us takes one step, we make a difference. When we join together, we multiply our effect exponentially. So if one person writes a letter to the editor or one email to an elected official, it has the effect of one person's efforts. But when 250,000 gather in one place at one time, it makes the world stand up and take notice. We saw this morning a good example of what happens when two people work together to do something that one person struggled with a little bit, and it made a difference. Earlier this month, some of us from UCH worked at a recycling event at Redeemer Lutheran Church in Hinsdale. We counted over 270 cars that came through with paper to shred, with bicycles and school supplies, linens, Christmas lights to either be reused or recycled. That event couldn't happen without people working together. In fact, we're working with a lot of church communities now in the Hinsdale and Western Springs and LaGrange area to do more things. We had a walk yesterday out at Bemis Woods that was wonderful. We had representatives from multiple faith communities in our area, and we're all working to explore ways we can do things together to increase our impact and lighten the load on all of us. And if one person can have an effect on others, many people can multiply that effect. Here's an example. You've heard Dave talk about many times about native plants. He's all about native plants. How everyone can grow some native plants and benefit the bees, butterflies, and other pollinators. We started small with our own native garden. In fact, our native garden started before it was our native garden. It's because when I lived out in the northwest suburbs, I had many native plants in my teensy little yard, which I was growing for seed for a local restoration project. People would grow these plants, harvest the seeds, and then put them back into seed mixes that would go then into the prairies and woodlands at this project. And when I moved to Brookfield and moved into Dave's home, I brought several of my native plants with me. And one of them still survives today, almost 30 years later. That's a long time for a single native plant, albeit it's in a different spot now. So when we started our native garden, you might say that I was the seed from which it grew. Actually, it was... And really, it was the prairie and the woodland out in Hoffman Estates that was the seed from which it grew. And over the years, our native plant garden has grown and evolved. And a few years ago, Dave and I helped form the Brookfield Native Plants Club with fellow native plants enthusiasts in the Brookfield area. Our little club has now cataloged homes with native gardens throughout the village. We've hosted over a dozen events to teach, share, and encourage native plant enthusiasts and gardening, and we've engaged with over 100 people at our events. This year, we're going to be hosting more events, exchanging seeds, helping plan gardens, trading plants, and just like last year, we'll be in the 4th of July parade, pollinating thousands of people with our native plant message in the community. And as these gardens multiply in our community, so do the opportunities for native insects and animals to thrive, which is good for the planet and our souls. Let's face it, making progress on important things can be a grind. We all know that the efforts of many people magnify the efforts of each individual. To take all the steps, though, to plan, to build, to promote, to attract interest, to finish the job, to win the race, it's hard. And some of us are better at some of those things than others. Some things have to be done one way, and we might not know the right way to do that. But when many people work together to one goal, one might be better at step one, one might be better at step two. Together, we can be more efficient and productive than one small set of people working on their own. Whether it's a bunch of people moving a brush pile or a couple of our kids carrying a heavy bag of books, and obscure books, much more work gets done much faster when people work together. And we do know that regular social interaction is good for us. How many of you miss those days when meetings were held in person at the church or at people's homes? What have we lost in terms of community with remote work schedules? I know a lot of people love them, but a lot of people miss those impromptu lunches and those chats at the water cooler and those quick talks in the aisle between the cubicles, as long as you don't disturb your neighbors. What have we lost in terms of community with Contact in Teams and Zoom. Yeah, you're in contact, but it's not the same. At the deepest human and emotional level, our minds and bodies are stronger and healthier when we are around people. As far as working together toward a common goal, since working together makes success more likely, we are that much more likely to have the reward of success, the positive emotion of having achieved our goal. I know from experience that when I am working with a group of people, concentrating on my part of the task, and I look over and see that one has finished their part and this one has finished that other part, it does feel like a weight has been lifted off of my shoulders. And whenever one person tires or flags, it's the people around them that pick them up and get them back in the game. What better way to celebrate success than with a big bunch of your friends? There's a hymn that we are not singing today. It's called Step by Step, the Longest March. We've sung it here before. The lines include, step by step, the longest march can be won. Many stones can form an arch, singly none. Drops of water turn a wheel, singly none. We can build arches, we can turn wheels, if we march together.
At Gettysburg in 1863, there were two speakers scheduled. One was Abraham Lincoln, the other was another guy. The other guy was the keynote speaker. He spoke for an hour. Back then, there wasn't radio, there wasn't TV, there wasn't internet. People went to see speeches. The other guy spoke for an hour. Abraham Lincoln spoke for 5 minutes. Nobody remembers the other guy. Right now, I feel like the other guy. Thank you, Karen and Suzanne. So how do we march and work together? If it makes sense to do everything we can, what exactly do we do? There are so many things that we read about that we can be doing. How do you choose what will make the biggest difference? Your Green Sanctuary Committee has been busy working and planning on how all of us can take action to change the world. First, we've made a list of 10 actions that there's a consensus around that make the most difference. First, political action. Attend a rally, respond to action alerts, write a letter. This also meets the goal of working together to make change and satisfies our need to be around other people. Second, adjust your home and lifestyle. Change your light bulbs, turn the heat down in the winter and warmer in the summer, drive less, check the tires, drive more economically. All the things we know we can do. Third, fix your travel. This is a tough one because we work hard for our money, and if we can travel, we want to do it. But air travel is one of the most energy-intensive things we do. Can you take a driving trip or a staycation instead of flying? Fourth, install natural habitat at home. A 10-foot by 10-foot patch of native plants gives homes to vital native pollinators and gives you and your family, especially the little ones, hours of joy watching those busy little creatures go about their day. And lightning bugs. Fifth, support native habitat in your community. If you can, get out and work on rewilding a local forest preserve. This very next Saturday, you can go to Bemis Woods, just about a mile from here, and cut non-native trees and shrubs and pull invasive weeds. That's Saturday, May 2nd, starting at 9 o'clock. 6, take a hike. We all need a break from our constant effort and concern about the world, this country, and our environment. The beauties of nature were not put here just for our use, but they are there for our use. Spend an hour studying flowers, investigating the bark of trees, listening to bird sound. 7th, read. Stop doom scrolling and read a book or a magazine or a website about some cool nature thing. One antidote to being stressed, terrified, and depressed is to be amazed. And learning is always an okay thing. 8th, get your energy from renewables. There are many electricity providers that get power from wind and solar, and you can find them on any search engine. Also, check with your town, because a lot of municipalities now have arrangements with solar facilities where they get the electricity and provide it to you. Ninth, make climate-friendly food choices. If you're not already vegetarian or vegan, cut down on your meat consumption, even by a bit. Practice Meatless Monday. Food animals produce huge amounts of greenhouse gases. 10th, talk. Talk to friends and family about climate concerns. Many stones can make an arch, and many drops can turn a wheel. And getting allies multiplies your effect. If you can't keep all these steps in mind, we have bookmarks with the whole list. So we'll have these available downstairs after church. I see people taking notes. It's okay. There are a lot of opportunities coming up to make a difference in the environment and change yourself as well. I mentioned Rewilding Workday next Saturday. And of course, don't miss our annual Beltane celebration next Sunday, May 3rd, right after church. We'll have a ceremony on the beginning of summer and change for the future, and of course, the maypole. There are native plant sales going on all around us, starting already and continuing for a while. We're trying to keep a list current on the Green Sanctuary pages of the church website, but of course, you can always search for them online. There are more than we can keep up with. On the evening of May 12th, there is a presentation and discussion of planning your native garden at the Brookfield Library. Again, you can ask us or search online for information. And it's not too early to mention that we already talked about the 4th of July parade. You can march along with the Brookfield Native Plants Club. You don't have to be a member of the club. You don't even have to live in Brookfield. It's fun to be in a parade. And as far as working together, we recognize that perhaps the worst impact of climate change in our local area is the increase in flooding. Green Sanctuary has been planning a program that will directly help those people most affected by flooding and least able financially to deal with it. We want to have an opportunity for volunteers to go into neighborhoods close to us and help clean out basements and first floors that have been flooded out. Let me see if people would be able to do that. If there were such an opportunity when there's a devastating flood, to go to people's homes and help them clear out the stuff that they own that has been ruined, maybe help pay for a dumpster, who would be able to do that? This is something that anyone can do without any special knowledge or training and without having to join an organization and go to meetings. We'll keep you posted on how this program develops and when we can get right down to helping people. And as Suzanne mentioned, right now we're working with other churches in our area on such a rapid response team that would do just that. We're also reaching out to local neighborhood organizations who already know where the people are who are going to be likely to need help. When we talk about magnifying our efforts by working together, this is what we're talking about. We're also talking with other churches about what all of us are working on. The goal is to have a community of houses of worship throughout the western suburbs for at least 3 purposes: to learn from each other, what we're doing that's working and what barriers we're facing and what we've learned, and to help with each other's programs by attending and promoting other people's projects, and to work together on more big programs, for example, helping people recover from floods. And that's where the other coming event comes in. Our regular Green Sanctuary meetings are on the first Wednesday of every month. And that means our next meeting is on May 6th. Meetings are on Zoom right now. And we'll put the Zoom link into next Friday's news and notes, or you can write to me for an invitation. And I mentioned taking advantage of the beauty and serenity of nature. I just read an article about a practice that has started in the Netherlands called dusking. Dusking. In communities all over that country, people are taking time out of their day to spend a few minutes or a half hour just enjoying the sunset. Here's a quote from one of the proponents. "Noticing twilight requires a persistent kind of attention. It's like a shy, rare animal. You have to take your time, stay focused. With everything in our worlds, taking your time and staying focused. Apparently, this was a tradition among the Dutch 100 years ago, but it went away with the increased pace of life. Watching the sunlight fade, the shadows creep over the houses and trees, the sky change color. You can call it meditation, or you can call it immersement. You can call it study. It takes you away from all that. Or there are any of a number of other practices. Get down on your knees and look at your lawn or garden, or somebody else's garden, if theirs is cooler, and notice, take 1 square foot, and notice and count and describe every living thing that you see in that single square foot. Close your eyes and listen to all the birds and notice each different call. You don't have to identify them, just notice the different sounds. Look up the way you used to as a kid and watch the clouds change shape and move across the sky. Watch an anthill for a half hour. When we leave here today, let's each do one thing to change the world. Let's plan to be with other people. And let's bathe in the beauty of nature, all as a remedy. Please join in these words as we extinguish the chalice. It's number 708. For you shall go out in joy and be led back in peace. The mountains and the hills, or you shall burst into song. And all the trees of the field shall clap your hands.
Our closing words are from Mary Oliver, Peonies. This morning, the green fists of the peonies are getting ready to break my heart as the sun rises, as the sun strokes them with his old buttery fingers, and they open, pools of lace, white and pink, and all day the black ants climb all over them, boring their deep and mysterious holes into the curls, craving the sweet sap, taking it away to their dark underground cities, and all day under the shifty wind, as in a dance to the great wedding. The flowers bend their bright bodies and tip their fragrances to the air and rise, their red stems holding all that dampness and recklessness gladly and lightly. And there it is again, beauty the brave, the exemplary, blazing open. Do you love this world? Do you cherish your humble and silky life? Do you adore the green grass with its terror beneath? Do you also hurry, half-dressed and barefoot, into the garden and softly, and exclaiming of their dearness, fill your arms with the white and pink flowers, with their honeyed heaviness, their lush trembling, their eagerness to be wild and perfect for a moment, before they are nothing, forever?
I'd like to invite all of you to close your eyes and to take a virtual walk through a deep musical forest with me. This is called In a Silent Way. It was done by Miles Davis and it was written by Joe Zellin.